We are live.
Hello.
Hello, let me, as usual, I am gonna check if we are live. Let me see. Da, 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 da. Yes. Hi. Welcome to another live chatter session. My name is Sara Feijo, and I am the artistic director of CloWnStePPinG and also the first Edinburgh Contemporary Clown Festival that's taking place in Edinburgh from the 28th of April until the 5th of May 2018. So if you haven't done it, you must write it on your diary and ask for the days off at work so that you are here with us having fun. Today, if you are watching, just say hello. If you are watching the replay, just write replay, hello, where you are watching from. Ask us questions, and if you are watching live, just write L and tell us hello and where are you watching us. Today I have a very special guest. It's Tim Licata. Tim is an actor and a director of Pluto La Vie, and we have been working for like 3 years, more or less, co-producing Clown Cabaret Scratch Nights in Scotland and perform scratchings as well. Yes?
Yes.
Welcome, Tim. How
Thank
are you?
I'm good. Well, actually, I have a little bit of a cold, so I have a pretty husky voice today. But aside from that, I'm good and looking forward to be here.
Thank you. Today, I forgot to mention, we are going to talk about the use of the red nose in contemporary clown. Is it really used to hide or does actually unveil who we are? To use it or not to use it, and what difference does it make? So tell us a bit.
Well, I wonder, should I tell a very little bit about my background in clown?
Oh yes, please.
A little bit, so people kind of know where I'm coming from as well. So clown has been a big part of my life for now close to 30 years, but really about the last 15 years or so. So it was part of my training with Philippe Gaulier and Monica Pagneux back in Paris in 1988-89, where I met some lovely people from Scotland who became good friends, which is part of the long path of why I've ended up here over the years. So that was really my first introduction to contemporary clowning, was with Philippe Gaulier in his school in Paris. And he, of course, comes out of the Lecoq tradition. He was a student at Lecoq's and then taught there for many years before he opened his own school. And back then, I think, clown was used as a part of the actor's training, a wonderful part, and that working with Gaulier opened up many, many things for me. But at the time, when I was 24, clown didn't work so well for me, and I think that's not so unusual. I learned a lot by doing it, and I learned from other people, and I learned a huge amount from Monsieur Gaulier. But actually clowning, it didn't work so well for me. And I think that was just because of me at the time and my life experience. But so probably about 10 years later, I had an idea for a show which I knew was going to be a clown show. And I started working with a very good friend, a dear friend, and a wonderful artist and performer, Ian Cameron. And we made a clown show called A Clean Sweep. And that was also how Pluto La Vie Theatre Company started. And so through doing that show, which we then performed for many years, we performed the show for about 7 years or so, off and on. That's when I really, clowning felt at home to me. Doing it in front of the audience and learning about it on stage, and it really became a big part of my life. I was also at the time working with the Clown Doctors in Scotland, that is run by a company, Hearts and Minds, who runs the Clown Doctors in Scotland, and also a program called The Elderflowers, which is the same thing, that uses clowning with working with people with dementia. And this was founded by Magdalena Schomburger in Scotland. So through those two things, clowning suddenly was very much a part of my life for the last 15 years. And even though Pluto La Vie didn't set out specifically to be a company that is founded in clown, we've done many projects since that first show, And even though we've done other clown shows, we've also done scripted pieces. We've done other pieces of theatre, but we still usually start rehearsals from the point of view of clown. So I find it, and Ian and I find it, an incredibly creative starting point in a way, no matter what we're working on. And I usually say when I started to teach clown, I finally felt comfortable enough to teach clown, and that I had something to give in that way as well. I really feel that clowning and contemporary clown, this position of contemporary clown, is definitely somewhere at the heart of acting as well, I think, even if people don't realize it. So I think it's a lovely position to be in it, and you can get a lot of freedom from the position of clown and the relationship of clown with audience. So there you go, there's my short history before we start talking about the red nose.
Thank you. So, so what can you tell us? Because I know that many people, for instance, when they see a red nose, they are like, they think it's more like a mask and a persona that they are putting on.
Yeah.
That maybe it's not who they really are, no?
Yeah, exactly. I think there's lots in this question. I think, people who are interested in clown, you probably know, lots of people know that the word clown in a way already has sometimes, or has had in the past, has developed sometimes a bad reputation, or is misrepresented sometimes. When we all know that in terms of people think of clown, and you say clown, people who don't know what it's about usually think of children's performers, or they think of the scary clown. Yeah, thank you very much, Stephen King, for doing that for us.
Yes. It's true.
You have a lot to answer for.
We should send him letters.
Yeah, I think you would like this anyway. But so people, I think, have a misunderstanding of clown. It's changing, and now as clown is being used more and more by theatre companies, and the ideas that came out of the Lecoq School and since the 1950s are now getting more and more known. So I think there's a growing understanding of what contemporary clown is, and things like the Edinburgh Contemporary Clown Festival next spring will do wonderful things to get this word out and introduce what clown can be, the many things that clown can be to people. And that's the thing. There's no one definition of clown, I think. But so people often have a misunderstanding of clown. They think of either the scary clowns with a lot of makeup and a big red nose, which comes out of the circus tradition, or they think of children's entertainers. Nothing wrong with any of these traditions, but I think it's different from what's come to be known as contemporary clowning. And in that way, what came out of the circus, with a lot of white face and a lot of makeup and a red nose, I don't think anybody really knows. I certainly don't know what the original origin of the red nose is. There's many stories, because it certainly existed before the 1950s, when I think it was in the late 1950s that Jacques Lecoq in his school in Paris he put out the question of what makes us laugh, what makes us laugh, and he started to explore this position of clown. And there was a student of his, a man named Pierre Billon, who brought in, I think, one of these red noses from a joke shop and began using the red nose. And Pierre Billon called it the smallest mask in the world. So we're to this question of, is it a mask or is it not a mask? And I think I was in the middle of saying that the tradition of circus, or the tradition of theatre, originally all this makeup was there for a purpose. People were in big spaces, and they augmented their face to be seen from much further away. So it was an aid. In the beginning, people were after clarity, of wanting their face to be seen and wanting their expressions to be seen. I think that's probably become kind of perverted over the years, and more makeup got added on, and it became less about clarity and more about creating an interesting face, which became a mask. But for me, contemporary clowning is really the opposite of being behind a mask, because it is definitely all about revealing yourself. It's about showing yourself and sharing yourself. So the red nose, here's a little one. I'm not going to put it on because I have a cold. It's a red nose. The red nose kind of became a tradition as well, and we'll talk about different
Yes,
noses.
we
and
have
sizes of
few
noses.
we have few red noses here, by the way.
So I think people associate clown with a red nose for kind of obvious and good reasons. I think that when people do clown workshops, or when Lecoq was teaching or Gully was teaching, I'm certainly not speaking for them, but putting on a red nose, you can think of it, I think, as Pierre Billon said, you can think of it as the smallest mask in the world. But it's a mask that, in a way, gives you permission. I think that. So let's talk about the red nose first as a kind of training tool, because I think it can be a tool as well. And then let's talk about it in terms of performing.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think it is very useful for people when they're learning about clown to put on a red nose, because then it immediately gives them a permission to be silly, in a way. You don't have to worry about it. You're supposed to be silly. And we can get into a big conversation about, are clowns supposed to be silly or stupid or funny or not? And no, really, I'm sure you've talked about this in other podcasts as well, or in other live streams. But clowns are not being funny. They're really searching for their understanding of the world, and they're doing their best to exist and do their best in a world or a situation that they don't understand, I think. So this has nothing really to do with the red nose. I think when you put on a red nose, it's really important, from my point of view, that you don't need to play the red nose. I think the best people, or not best people, are someone who can put on the red nose and in a way forget that it's there.
And then in this sense, to just jump in this sense, it's not like you becoming something that you are not. Because actually it's more like continuing being who you are, with this permission that you are talking about of being silly. It's like taking more of who you are by using the nose, no? Stretching who you are a bit more and more by using this tool, so to speak.
Yeah, again, I think that's right. I think it somehow is nice if it gives people permission. They feel like they have permission to follow their ridiculous side, or to follow their silliness. It brings us to an interesting question. A really interesting question for me is, we all love laughter. We love laughter. Laughter is a wonderful, warming, uniting, bonding thing. So we love laughter, and we know that laughter, even though clowns aren't necessarily, in their mind, they're not necessarily there to make people laugh. They're there doing their best, and yet they cause laughter, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing. But in real life, we're very hesitant. We don't want to be laughed at. So laughter can also be a cruel thing. And this is a really tricky thing for people, I think, coming into clown, to get over that, is to embrace laughter in a way. To embrace, I think for me, when you're on stage or when you're in the position of a clown and an audience laughs, it's just amazing. It's the most wonderful feeling, the most wonderful, warm feeling. I think it's a wonderful film, one of Charlie Chaplin's later films, I think it's called Limelight, where he talks about the audience and the audience laughing. And I think he says something like, paraphrasing, he says something like, but when they laugh, it's wonderful. And at that moment, you don't, a clown isn't thinking of, they're laughing at me. He just knows that he's the cause of joy, or she's the cause of joy. And it's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Yes. But also they laugh, the audience laugh because they feel, they see themselves reflected on the performer, no? And on this space of vulnerability, so to speak.
Absolutely. I think that's why I don't think audiences laugh at silly things. They really laugh when they recognize themselves.
Yes.
We laugh when we recognize this ridiculous humanity. And when you recognize your own humanity, and then in a way that laughter releases your own fears and lets you laugh. And I think that's really the wonderful part of a position of clown. They unlock that for the audience. So the clown releases the things that the audience themselves are afraid of being laughed at for. But the clown does them and we can laugh. They release us.
And it's a bit healing, isn't it, as well?
Yeah,
it's a bit healing
sure.
somehow, because somebody is experiencing something that you have experienced, but that you haven't given yourself permission to express or to show openly.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think it is, yes, absolutely. Laughter is very healing, just inherently. And it's also an interesting question about why do human beings laugh? What purpose does it serve? If you think about it through evolution, why has laughter evolved? What's its purpose? And maybe part of its purpose is, it brings us together socially. We get united in laughter. We recognize each other in laughter. Someone from Britain and Japan, maybe. I'm sure, even though there'll be big cultural differences, I'm sure that there will be some things where they intersect and they laugh at the same things as human beings. So I think laughter crosses those boundaries of language and culture and religion and ethnicity and everything. It crosses everything.
Maybe because it's also, well, apart from laughter, the clown also takes the audience into an emotional journey, isn't it? That, of course, in this emotional journey there is laughter. So the connection, it goes sometimes when it sometimes could go above cultural to something that connects with our hearts and our experience as human beings.
Yeah, absolutely. We're all human beings. We have that in common. And I think that is where, that's clowning works at that level. It works at the level of the human at its best, definitely. You said something that reminded me of something. It'll come back.
About this?
About
the emotional journey.
Oh, the emotional journey. Yeah, because that's another thing that I think sometimes, and I know we'll try to get back to it because we're setting up to talk about the red nose. But always a red nose will talk about everything. But that's a danger. Or like we said, it's good, or I think it's good when someone puts on a red nose, not to play the red nose, because clowning again it's not about a character, it's about you. And I remember many things that Philip Gullier said during this year I spent with him, nearly 30 years ago. But so many things stand out, and one of them was he always talked about, if you're living on stage, a life on stage. Excuse me. You never want to be smaller than you are in real life. You never want to be a smaller character than you are in real life. Why would people come to the theater to see something that is less than what you are in real life? If anything, you need to be more. I think theater is a concentrated experience. It's a concentration of life. So maybe it's a more concentrated path of certain experiences. But a clown doesn't just have to be funny. A clown, or whatever the clown is, has the whole range of emotions. They have laughter and sadness and tragic circumstances, and they have all the emotions. Why not? They're all human beings. You're a human being. You have all the emotions, not just in one area.
It's true. Yes. It's true. Or even like feeling love, or like falling in love, or things like this. It's like very, very different. It's a lot. It's a lot. So what difference does it make for a performer to use or not to use the red nose?
So this is also a really fun question, good question. Yeah, I think you have to. I think every person is different, and when you're finding, people talk about finding your own clown. What does that mean? I think it means finding where is your natural ridiculousness? Where do you become absurd? And usually it touches on the things that happen to you in your real life. I found a lot, I actually in the past, and sometimes even now, I can get very angry in real life. At myself or other people, I get very angry. Very serious, it's horrible. It's terrible. And so this, I found really, this is where my clown really exists. This clown he gets really frustrated with how everybody else is so stupid, when really he's really completely stupid himself. Or he doesn't see his own failings. So it's really finding your own, where do you find that ridiculousness of the human position in yourself. So then I think you have to find out if a red nose works for you or not. I think a big question is, if you have a red nose on, does it help your play? Does it allow you to play fuller, more freely? Does it let things come out? Does it let your face shine? Do we see you better with a red nose on? Or do we see you better with a red nose off? It also sometimes, I think, might have to do with the type of play that you're creating or scene that you're doing. Sometimes if it's a really really kind of silly bit of stupid humanity, sometimes having a red nose helps the audience to enter that world.
It's true, yes.
Sometimes.
Yes.
But then you look at, people don't, I think once you find the clown position, both with yourself in front of an audience, when you find that play of clown, that conversation of clown with the audience, you can play it both with a red nose and without a red nose. I think it's a good example for me is Laurel and Hardy. Is if you look at pictures of Laurel and Hardy, they didn't use a red nose, but you can really see it's as if they have the red nose on, even though it's not there. And I think that's because they really have this true soul of a clown in their heart. Similarly, you could look at Buster Keaton, who is also a very different type of clown, but definitely a clown. And a red nose, I think, wouldn't work at all on his face. He was a very serious, often somber clown. It wasn't the world of the red nose. So, yeah, I think you look at the individual. Does a red nose work on your face? Does it help you play more freely or not? It's very helpful to have someone on the outside working with you. And I think it's good to explore, trying things with noses and without noses.
It's true, and I was going to say with Larry and Hardy, that perhaps once you enter into this world, in that you don't need the nose anymore to be in this crazy space. Maybe you don't need to use it. And yes, it's with Buster Keaton. I think it will be very different if you use a red nose. It wouldn't work.
Yeah.
But now I have another question based on this that you have explained, and it's more from the point of view of the audience, because for me it's very curious that people go to see clowns that don't have a red nose, and they are happy, and they go to see the clowns, and they don't realize that what they are seeing is contemporary clown. But then when maybe if you put a photo on a poster or something of a red nose, then it's like, no, I don't want to see clowns, I am scared of clowns. But they saw another clown without the nose. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they don't realize they're seeing a clown.
It's the same. It's the same, but without the red dots on the...
Yes, it's true. It's true. But really, is this the clown's problem, or is this more a problem of communication, a problem of marketing? Because it's true, I think audiences really enjoy contemporary clowning or clowning without the red nose, and they don't necessarily know it, they don't know what to call it. So it's good, I think, the more people understand and learn that this is clowning too. It's great. But we're kind of stuck with this word, clown, which is interesting. It's kind of, it's around to stay, and sometimes it has many connotations for people. But we're kind of stuck with it, so we use this word clown because we don't have another one. Pierre Billond also had a lovely definition of clown that I always like to say is that a clown is really someone who doesn't know. And that's a good, simple definition. But yeah, people really enjoy, I think audiences enjoy. We found out very much with the Clown Cabaret Nights in Edinburgh, who we also produced with Melanie Jordan. audiences really love it. They really connect with it. And again, it's seeing that they're laughing at that humanity. And it's good, I think, that we've called them clown cabaret nights. So I think we're trying to put the word out. We're trying to change this perception of clown so that people do realize that this is what clowning can be.
Oh yes, totally. And also the mission with this live chatter sessions is not only to connect with all of you contemporary clowns performers out there, but also to raise awareness of the beauty of contemporary clown and how we believe that it's a real art.
Absolutely. It's nice, and so it's great that the live stream goes out to the world. Are these people watching over
yes,
there? That's great.
I'm gonna. These are the questions here.
Great.
So if you have any questions, I'm gonna read now the questions for Tim to answer them. If you have questions, write them now. Give us a like. Also, share with in your wall so that more people that we can reach more people. So Sharon is watching us from Ireland. Hello.
Hello.
Bernadetta it's like thumbs up. Sharon sent us a heart. Yeah, cool. Bernadetta says hello. Okay, Sharon said about the clown nose. You said you would chat about. Also, the hat can be a mask. Is that true?
Also, the what could be a
mask?
The hat. The hat.
Yes.
I don't know about. I think any kind of costume, in a way, can become a mask or can be like a mask. But for me, at least, I don't think I would think of it, particularly a costume, as a mask, because again, I think a good. What again? I think it might have been Charlie Chaplin who said that an actor works on his craft to be able to play many roles throughout his career, and a clown works on playing one role through his whole life, and he gets better and better and better at this one role. And in a nice way, I understand what he means. So I think it's true, not because it's difficult. In a way, clowning is very simple, but it is difficult. I think it's difficult to let the simple humanity come out and be clear, and really to share yourself, because it's not something we do every day. We're taught to be correct, to be experts, and not to necessarily. We're taught not to share our inadequacies, and that's exactly what the clown does. Is willing to share what they're inadequate at. Everyone, we're all inadequate at things, but we don't like to share it. But the clown shares this freely, and we recognize ourselves in them. And so
it's very refreshing.
It's very refreshing. So when you begin finding your clown, your ability as a clown, I think then, you're not going to find, just like as a normal person, your tastes change and you find clothes to wear that you think you look good in, and then another day, you like something else, and your fashion and your taste develops. Mm-hmm. I think developing a clown costume really is a process certainly over a period of time, maybe over a period of years, and you keep your eye out for things, when you're out shopping and suddenly you might see, that scarf really says something, and you find things that really fit this. Again, the word character, because character is not a mask either. Particularly in clown, it's showing more and more of yourself, finding little things that will bring out more of yourself. It's usually good if you find a hat or you find something and you put it on and you see the person's eyes come to life. It's a good thing.
Yes.
It's a good thing. So I would say a hat is not a mask. No, part of the costume is not a mask. It's again like the nose, to help you share more of yourself. It's things that you cut a figure in, but it's not to hide behind. It's to share more of yourself.
Yes, exactly. It's the other way around of what everyone thinks. It's like basically whatever you use as a clown costume, it's to unveil who you really are and to bring more of that, rather than to use it like something to protect you and to keep you behind it.
Exactly.
Yes, to hide behind it and put a character that it's not who you are. And also, when there is a clown on stage, we can see when they are being how do you say, when they are being authentic and when they are being themselves, or when they are being like a little character, isn't it?
Yeah. Similarly with costumes, that sometimes you see, I see people who put on like obviously really ridiculous things as a clown costume. Now, the thing for me is if a person puts something on, somewhere in them there has to be something that authentically likes this thing. I think you never should put on something that you think is ridiculous or funny. Why would you wouldn't do that? Why would you do that yourself? Somewhere you need to think, this thing is wonderful. It might be ridiculous for other people. That's wonderful. But the clown doesn't intentionally put on ridiculous things.
Yes.
They put on things that they think, they look good.
They look maybe ridiculous, but it's no. The first instinct is no. I want to look ridiculous.
Yes.
Okay, so Sharon, when we were talking about the difference between clowns, she said, so it's like the new age clown. Yes.
Sure.
Then she says, when I started talking about the nose, I get confidence from the nose. When you were talking about
that's wonderful. If the nose helps you and frees you, it's a wonderful thing.
Yes, it's the best, isn't it?
It's good to try out different noses. I mean, there's noses, the plastic noses you find in a joke shop can be good if it works with your face, but it's worth, if you're really interested in exploring clowning, it's worth finding different noses and trying out different noses. Big, small, different color, like different types of red. Yeah, this looks very good on your face. It looks very nice. It's worth trying out different noses and finding a nose that works uniquely with your face.
Yes, I'm showing them.
As we have our model here.
Yes. The clown model. This one, it's more like a cheap one, but this is still very good.
It's still good, yeah. It doesn't, sometimes you never know what's going to work for you.
Okay, so Sharon says it's a very vulnerable space doing clowning.
Yes.
Yes, it's what we are.
Yes, which is why it's so important, especially if you're starting clowning, to have a circle of people or to work with people that you really feel safe with, that you can explore with, so that you can allow yourself to be vulnerable.
Yes, this is so important,
it's
because
really important.
It's about playing wildly, and if you are with people that they will judge you or that you will feel judged by, you won't allow yourself to just go for it. And the most important, I think, is this, is like, discovering what's happening, and then you kind of how you say, like, make it better or clean the material, no? But at the beginning is... Okay, so Bernadetta says, everyone has a different energy within itself. I wonder how to put into action when wearing the red nose. What to put into... Bernadetta, if you are there, what do you want to put into action? So I'm going to read again. Yeah. Everyone has a different energy within itself. Within themselves, I guess. Yes. I wonder how to put into action when wearing the red nose. So, how to put into action her energy?
Their own personal... So I guess the question is, everybody has their own unique energy, and how do you put this into action while wearing the red nose? Good question, no idea. That's the thing you have to find out.
Play.
The only answer is, when you find it, you'll know. There's no secret formula.
But also it's nice, because once in clown, once you think you know what you are doing, then it's that there is no formula.
But and particularly because we all know, most of us know with contemporary clowning, that we always say it's not about trying to be funny, and that's very true. But of course, hanging around the back of your head, if you're working with clowning, of course, somewhere, even if you're trying to avoid it, you're thinking, what am I going to do that will be funny? So, but you really, really do have to first work on sharing yourself, being present, sharing yourself, and really experiencing the failure. Sharing something that you're inadequate at, and sitting in that. And it's not a comfortable feeling, but then when you can share that and you realize that there's a humanity in it, it becomes comfortable, and that's when people laugh. And then you begin to find the laughter. But it doesn't come from trying to be funny. It comes from trying to share yourself and deal with your inadequacies. I think later on, or people who've been doing, or who become real clown specialists, because it's always another good question for me as we talk about, you're not trying to be funny. But okay, if you're a performer and you're working as a clown duo or trio and you're making a show, of course you want the audience to laugh. But that's later down the road. So that then you get into the place of the clown, and then there's your second mind as a performer that's kind of crafting your play. So at that point, of course, you want the audience to laugh, but you have to find the truth of the situations.
Also, bringing a little bit back what you were saying, when you honor your inadequacies, can you repeat that?
When you honor your inadequacies.
You get to have more fun with yourself as well. And then you are enjoying what you are doing, and when you are on the stage enjoying these inadequacies, the audience enjoy with you as well, because what we have been saying all this time, no? You find yourself reflected into the performer as an audience.
Yes.
Okay, so Jane, she sent us a thumbs up.
Thank you, Jane. Thanks, Jane.
She also sent us a heart. Cool, thanks you, Jane. She says, love this. Thank you. And Sharon says, I like that, not to hide behind. When we were talking about the answering her question.
It has nothing to do with hiding behind anything. Hiding behind a costume, hiding behind a red nose is absolutely the opposite.
Then Jen, who first introduced you to being a clown? But I think
guess.
I guess.
Yeah, I won't tell the whole story again, but for me
you said in the beginning.
Yeah.
So you need to, Jane, we talk about this in the beginning, so I recommend you that when we finish, you go and see the first 10 minutes.
You were late, Jane, obviously.
You were Okay, she sent us many hearts, actually. Bernadetta. Bernadetta is the lady that asked us about the energy. So if you are like fire or flowing like river. And we are like, but maybe we should put the note to share this.
No, I know what you mean. I do know what you mean.
No, we are joking because we are clowns.
Well, where is your question? If you're fire or flowing like a river, yes, I think you need to find a way of using that energy in a way that again takes you into the freedom of play.
Yes, basically is what you.
Yeah.
Then she said thanks. So I guess she wrote the question and then you answer and then. Okay, Priscilla. Hello, Priscilla. She sends some thumbs up. And she says, hello. So, well, if you have one more question, just write it right now, because we are about to finish. I want to say thank you, Tim, because I know you are feeling a bit ill.
Well, it's wonderful. It's strange, even talking about clown makes me feel better.
Yes,
I feel very good right now. Best I felt all day.
Oh, so cool. So I know that I would like you to share with our audience that the show you are performing right now.
Yes, I'm performing in the Arabian Nights in Edinburgh at the Lyceum Theatre. That's on in a couple of hours now, but goes on till the 6th of January, and it's a very fun show with a really wonderful cast, hopefully, present company accepted. But it goes on to the 6th of January, and it's very, very fun. So yeah, come along and see it.
Yes, I want to come and see it as well. Where can they find you if they would like to follow your work? Can you advise
the best way is you can Google Pluto La Vie Theatre Company. It's just Pluto La Vie. It's a French name, Plutot, then Lavie. Pluto La Vie means above all life, or rather life. And Google that and like Pluto Levy's Facebook page. There's a way to sign up on our website. We also talk about workshops. We teach clowning and buffon and things, usually about once a year. That would be wonderful. So like Pluto Levy's Facebook page and you'll get all the information about things that we're doing. And you can find my email on there as well, tim@plutolevy.org.uk. I think it's www.plutolevy.org.uk.
Yes.
And I want to say really thank you for having me on today. It's really
it's
lovely
cool.
talking about clown.
Yes, me, I am like, woo! It has inspired me to watch one for the rest of my day. Sharon said, thank you both. Then we have Zero, it's a name, but I'm pronouncing it bad, I think. And he's from Scotland. And Priscilla says, lovely to see your positive energy. Oh, so sweet, Priscilla. Thank you. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys. Please feel free to share amongst your networks. Share the video, like, comment. If you have any more questions, just write the questions, and one of us, I will let Tim know that so he answers. If you were late, I want to remind you the Edinburgh Contemporary Clown Festival will take place from the 28th of April until the 5th of May 2018, and it will be lovely if you come along. So thank you. My name is Sara Feijo, and today I talked to Tim Licata from Pluto Levi.
Thank you for watching.
Bye.
Good luck with your clowning.
Yes, clown around.